talk about how to actually do the return address label. So I made two different ones, a rectangle one and one a circle. Let's work on the rectangle one first. So the first thing I did was just inserted a shape. So I'm going to choose square, and then I'm going to size this. I'm going to actually unlock this. So I'm going to click on the lock. I'm going to do a height of 1 and a width of 2.625. And then I'm going to change this to white. Okay, so that is our sticker. So now, so I can see it a little better, I'm just going to zoom in. So I'm just going to click the plus down here a couple times. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I'm just going to put my address. So I'm just going to click on the text box, and now I'm just going to do the Pelsner family, an address. Okay, and then it's super big, so I'm just going to come over and make the width. I'm just going to type in 2 just to make it smaller for now. Okay, and then I'm actually I want it in the center, so I'm going to change the alignment to center. And then I'm going to change the font, and I'm going to filter to a writing font and pick, honestly, it's a problem. I never remember what I pick on these, so let's just find something to use. Let's see, let's use, that's weird. Okay, so let's just use Close to My Heart. This is the font I used for this circle one here, but we're going to use it right now. So I'm going to actually make the line spaces a little closer. And then I'm going to increase the letter space. I want them out a little bit. Okay, so it's going to be kind of like that. So now I'm going to add the P in. And what I did is I added another text box. I'm just going to type a P. And then this one, I actually searched for monogram up here, and this came up as a layered monogram. I'm not going to use all the layers, but I'm going to bring that in. And actually at the moment, I don't want it a writing font because I don't know why it does that line right there. But I'm going to turn it back to regular, and you'll see over here on the layer panel, there is 4 different layers. So I'm actually going to ungroup them and just take off the top one. Okay, and then I'm just gonna put a cursor around these and delete those off. Okay, so now that I have I'm gonna come up to line type here, and then I'm gonna go to foil, and then I'm gonna click on fine. Okay, so this now turns it to a foil. And you can change the color of the foil up here. So your Cricut will tell you exactly what color to tape on. I'm going to leave mine gold. And I'm just going to move it down here because I need to change the size of some things. Okay, so now I'm actually going to unlock this so I can, oops, not that. Okay, so I'm going to click on here. I'm going to unlock my text so I can move it unproportionally from each other. Again, we'll make this a little bit smaller, kind of move it over, and maybe a little bit longer. Okay, so like that. Okay, so now what we want to do is, now that I have it placed kind of how I want it, I'm actually going to move this out of the way, because in order for this to print on a printer first, we need to first put a box around it and click attach down here. So I'm going to click attach. Okay, and now with it still selected, I'm actually going to click flatten. So remember, the flatten is what squishes it all down to one layer and cuts it out. So you'll see up here it says cut and then print, and it has the actual box around it. And then I'm just going to move this over, and it got sent to the back. So I'm just going to click on arrange, send to front, and then move this over where I want it. Okay, and once it's exactly how I want it, I'm going to use my cursor, put a square around it, and now attach these together. So then the Cricut knows to use the foil on top of this. So you'll see over here in the attach section, we have the foil for the P and the cut and the print for our address label. Okay, so for this one, we're going to do a shape, a circle, and I made my circle 1.5 inches big. And then I am going to turn this one white. Okay, so I'm going to put my address on it first. So I'm going to go into text, and again, I'm going to start typing the top one. And I'm going to change this back to close to my heart. This one. Okay, and then I'm going to decrease the size on this. And these ones are kind of just a trial and error. I want to curve it up here. So I'm actually going to use my cursor to put both of these in a square and then just align it to the center, just so I can kind of start off in the center. So now with just the text selected, I'm actually going to use the curve function up here. I'm going to slide it to the right so it starts to curve down. It's curving a little bit too far down, so I'm actually going to decrease the font size and move it back. Okay, and now I need to curve it actually less. So like I said, kind of just have to play around with this. I'm going to go back and center it horizontally again. Okay, so I like how that is. So now I'm going to do the same thing with the bottom. Okay, I'm just going to change this up here to 2, just so I can get to it. And again, click on that and start. I'm going to slide this to the left so it starts to curve up. Okay, and then I'm going to actually decrease my font size a little bit here. You can actually also decrease the letter space so they go closer together. Okay, and move it. I'm going to center it back. Okay, and then I need to curve it a little bit more. So the curving is just kind of playing with the curve, the font size, and the letter space to get it how you want it. Okay, so I'm just going to center all of this again. Okay, so that's how I want it. So what I'm going to do is again go and attach this together. And then I'm going to flatten it. So you'll see up here on the right, it says cut and print along there, and you don't really see the outside of it. Okay, so now we're gonna do the P, and this is actually a font I bought, and I use this in my shadow box that I made, and I showed you there how to do it. But what we're gonna do is click on text, and up here, I'm going to go to monogram. What was it called? Classy monogram, I believe. So here are the monogram classy. So the 2 is the one that has a top and the bottom. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to click monogram classy 2. I'm going to type in a P. And you'll see that it gives me the lower monogram there. So I'm going to add another text box and now type in a capital P. So Shift and P. And you'll see it gives me the top of it. So I'm just going to move it about how far I want it. And I can change this later. And then we use a cursor, get around that, and go to align and center this. Okay, so then I'm just going to add a text and add my last name, and I need to change this font. We will search a writing font, take off my fonts. Okay, and then just grab a font here. I'm going to reduce this now. So now this is on draw. So you have an option here. You can change it. You can flatten it on here and print it, but I'm actually going to use my Cricut pens and draw it. So I'm going to keep it on draw, and I'm just going to change the color to raspberry just so I can see it. It doesn't really matter what color it is. It just, Cricut tells you what pen to put in. So I'm going to move it down here, and I need to make it smaller to fit inside my monogram. I'm going to unlock it and make it longer. Okay, so then I'm going to put my cursor around them all, and actually I'm going to align them, center them again. Okay, so now I'm going to actually attach the top and the bottom. So I'm going to click on the top. I'm going to hold my shift and click on the bottom, and I'm going to attach this, and then I am going to change this to foil on the fine. So then it changes into that outline and changes to the gold, and like I said, you can change this color if you want. I'm going to leave it at gold, and then I'm going to put a box around these and group them just so I can move them and they will stay together. So now I'm going to put this kind of in the middle. I'm going to put a box around both of them so they are both selected, and we're going to come up to align and center, center. So that centers it in the middle. Okay, so now all I need to do while they're both still selected is come down and click the attach down here. So I'm going to attach them together, and now Cricut will know to print this out and then use the foil and the pin on the sticker. Okay, so that's how you make these different type of stickers and labels. Like I said, there's lots of ways to do this. If you have, you don't need to use foil. I'm loving the foil right now, so I love to make everything sparkly, but you could easily just use a pen or like a glitter pen or something if you want a little extra color on these. You could also just print them all out. This is a great way to add color if you don't have a colored printer, is to use your Cricut pens. You could use pens for the whole thing. That just would take a long time, which is why I didn't use pens for the whole address and just the name, but I could have had the name printed too. So like I said, tons of different options with this stuff. That's why I love the Cricut and this software, because everyone does it a little bit different, and that's great. You have your own unique creative way of doing things. Okay, and I'm going to hide this one just to show you this first, in case you want to make a whole bunch of one at a time. This one I think I was to do 16 on one 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. And you'll see that since it's a print, it automatically goes to 8.5 by 11. But you'll see that this fills this up and it wouldn't let me add any more. So you can cut 16 on one piece of paper at a time. And remember, with the foil, we're going to have to get a thin piece of tape all the way around this. But you can use one of the 12 by 12 foils on here. And for the other one, you can actually get a little more of the circles. So if I go to make it on here, this one I believe is 20. So you'll see I can get 20 on one piece of sticker paper or printable vinyl. And so it will do all of these at one time. And you don't have to worry about lining up the sticker paper and all this stuff. Cricut will just cut those out perfectly. Okay, so then on the next page, you'll see that it sends it to the printer first. So you'll want to click on Send to Printer, and it pops up here. I'm going to print mine to this one and add bleed. Make sure that's on. You're going to click Print, and it will print yours out. and then we will put it on a mat and do the rest. Okay, so this I just printed out of my printer, my inkjet printer. I'm going to place it on here. And I'm actually just going to add a little bit of painter's tape to the top and the bottom, just because my mats are not overly sticky anymore, so I don't want it to move. Okay, and so Cricut Design Space is telling me to insert my pen. I had put raspberry, but I'm using a wine pen. So I am just going to open up clamp A and stick that right in and close it. And my wheel is on custom, so on my design space here, I am going to go down to the printable vinyl and click on that one. And then also load my foil transfer tool. So here is my housing, and I am using the fine point, so it has just the one line on it there. So I'm just gonna put it right inside, remove this one, and stick that whole housing in there. And my light is blinking, so I'm gonna push on that one. And then I'm gonna click on the blinking light. So you'll see here that the Cricut is actually reading all of these, the black lines that it makes, so it knows exactly where to write and then to cut and also to foil. So since we're doing it this way, that we're actually using a pen on it, it's not going to read it the second time with the foil. So we can actually cover up the lines on the foil. On the first one that I did, since this one was just a straight foil after I printed, I actually had to get the foil inside these black lines and with the tape so it could read it, but I actually used, the tape was too thick and I covered up this part of the line. So you can see on there that with the tape over the foil, it didn't foil that part. So that's where all the tape was, and then on this side there was no tape, so it did well. This one, nothing was covered over on this side, so all of these foiled well on that. But that's the difference of just going from straight print and foil versus using a pen in it, because it will read it already first. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this all write the name on it. Okay, so it's finished writing my name on here. So now you can see Design Space is telling me to add the tape the gold foil on. Okay, so since it's already read the lines, I'm actually going to tape this on top. Just going to tape it to the printable vinyl underneath it. Okay, you don't want to tape it to your mat, because then the foil gets all over your mat. So I'm just using the tape that comes with it. Okay, so I'm going to tape down one side first. Okay, and you don't want to remove the mat in this, since Cricut knows already what it was. And so I kind of put it down and let the tape grab the foil underneath it. And push it down. Then on the top again, kind of let it grab it and pull it a little tight. And then tape the bottom. Okay. Just put a little more tape on here. Make sure it doesn't come up. Okay, so now that everything is taped on and I still have my foil in there, I'm going to push the C and let it start foiling. Okay, so it's done with this part. You can see Cricut Design Space to remove the gold and load the fine point blade. So I'm going to take this out and put that in. Then we are going to peel this off. Again, not unloading the mat. Okay, so now that their foil's removed, I'm just gonna click on the blinking C light and it will cut out the circles. Okay, the Cricut says it is done. So we are gonna unload the mat. Okay, and there you have it. So they just come off. Peel off like that. Okay, and we have nice address labels that can add to an envelope that are nice and shiny. Okay, so there's two different ways. This one is out of the printable vinyl, and this one is with the sticker paper. My inkjet printer has some problems with the thickness of the sticker paper. That's why I used printable vinyl. It's a little bit easier on my printer and a little bit easier to use, but you can use either of them for these address labels.